All right, folks, welcome to Fix It Friday. Mr. Marie here. Today we're going to install a water line for the IceMaker on my refrigerator. I've been putting it off for quite a while. I do have the materials to complete the job. Like I said, just putting that job off. So today we're going to dig into that and show you folks how to do that properly. So first we're going to review some of the materials that we will need to complete this task. So the refrigerator is about a year old. It's a Maytag double door freezer on the bottom, and that freezer is equipped with the IceMaker. So we need to be able to supply water from the main water supply line of the house or any other water line in the house to that refrigerator. So first thing we need to do is tap into that water line. In that case, we're going to need one of these. This is called a T. It's made of 1/2-inch copper. So these are 1/2-inch diameter holes. And what we're going to do, our water line comes into this side. It's going to come through this side here, or it's going to meet up and join there. And then this portion of the T is going to permit that water to flow from our main line up off of that line. Okay? After that, we're going to have to place a section of pipe inside of that T. Probably not this tall. We're going to measure it and cut it down eventually, but I had a piece of pipe laying in here. So this is just a piece of 1/2-inch copper pipe. After that, we want to install a valve. What the valve does is stop the water from flowing from the main up to our refrigerator or up to our IceMaker. Right now the valve is in the open position. This is straight up and down. If we turn this, it's called a quarter turn ball valve, that will shut off the water supply to the IceMaker. So if there is an issue with that IceMaker at some point in time, the line would start to leak or it would break inside of the refrigerator, we can shut this off and cut the supply of water. Now, the threads that come off of this valve are not the proper size or the same size as the water line that supplies it. So we had to purchase an adapter. It's called a compression adapter. We'll take this out and show you in a minute. The compression adapter is going to have to sit on top of these threads. Once we have our compression adapter on top of the threads, our last step is to hook up our supply line. Now, previously, people would use soft copper pipe. Copper pipe would come in a roll. They would unroll it. They would use a ferrule and a nut to secure that to the line and or to the back of the refrigerator. This is kind of the way to go. It's flexible. It's meant to be pulled in and out. We like to pull that refrigerator out and clean it in behind there so it's not dusty and things like that. So these lines here are the ticket. So that's the way we're going to do that. Okay? We're also going to need some tools for this operation. I like to lay out my tools and have everything ready to rock and roll when I start the job. We can't plan for everything, but we like to try and plan for as much as we possibly can. So a couple things we'll need. Definitely some channel locks. Any plumbing operation, these are usually beneficial to have to hold that pipe and or twist. Our valve, our adapter, and our line, we're going to have to turn those. It is a 6-sided or a hex nut. So we can use a crescent wrench, or what I prefer to do, if possible, if I know the sizes of what I need, I will prepare those wrenches and have those out. I prefer to use a wrench if I can get it to fit where it needs to go. I prefer to use a wrench on the size of the nut that it is, just to prevent that from rounding off or having issues with it. We're going to have to cut some copper pipe. So in that case, we're going to need one of these. This is a pipe cutter. It also has a reamer on the back side. Excuse me. We're going to need flux and solder. We are going to take that copper line, the original house line, supply line. We're going to cut that. We're going to add that T, a piece of a stub, and that valve. We have to solder all that together. So we're going to show you folks how to do that. We need to have a brush to clean inside of the fittings and a piece of emery cloth, or sometimes a Scotch-Brite pad works. Emery cloth is like sandpaper, but it has a cloth backing. It's very pliable. It does not break. So the original lines on the house, somebody painted those years ago. My house here was purchased, or it was built in 1948. The original owner purchased the house, painted all the water lines in the house. So we have to get through that paint so that the solder will bind when we go to cut that pipe apart. Okay? The last thing we need to do is grab the torch to solder that together. I left that in the garage, so I'll grab the torch and you'll see that in just a couple of minutes here. Okay? First step of this project, of any type of plumbing project, we want to shut off the main supply line or the main water line from the house. So the water feeds in from the street to here. This is my main shut-off valve. This thing here is called a water meter. The way they determine your water bill, the water flows through here. It spins an impeller. It counts the amount of gallons of water you use, and that data actually runs through this cable, and that's transferred to the water company. There's a thing on the side of the house. They can come up with a reader and see what it is. And this line here actually supplies the house with water, so we need to kill that. We need to shut that water off so we can drain this line out and begin to solder. So this is a quarter turn ball valve also. We're going to push down. Okay, and now our water is shut off to the house. Next, we want to identify where our kitchen is in the house and where the water line is in relation to that. So if you can see that little speck of light right there, that is the flooring that's in my kitchen. That's right against the wall. So we're actually going to have to drill a hole through there so that our line can pass through. And we've also identified where the water line is that we are going to tap off of to install our T. So we know this is our line. This is definitely where it's going to be at, and we're going to cut this right here. Now, what we're going to want to do is take and clean this line up. Like I said before, they painted all the lines in the house. So the first process I'm going to do before I cut this line makes it much easier if I try to clean that now. So I'm going to clean this. It's going to look like brand new copper, and we'll start that in just 1 second here. Okay, we're going to take a strip of our emery cloth here, and we're going to rip that. So I'm going to make it about an inch wide or so. And this is what we have. So that's my piece of emery cloth. I'm going to drape that over top of the pipe, and we're just going to do a back and forth motion. And you can see how quickly the emery cloth cuts through that paint. Like I said, we want to have nice, clean, bare metal so that our solder sticks. We don't want to have an issue where the joint starts to leak at some point. So I'm going to take and clean this very well. So it looks relatively clean. We'll also take some finer sandpaper and clean that up. I'm also going to grab a mirror real quick. If I can squeeze my head up in here, I'll take a look or use a mirror to check and make sure the top of that pipe is clean. It does feel smooth, but we're going to double check and make sure that that's correct before we cut that. So we will do that. I'll grab I'll just grab a step ladder. I'll stick my head up in here, check this, make sure life is good there and is good and clean. And once we have that, we'll take and cut this pipe in half. Now that the pipe's clean, right before we go to cut it, what we want to do is drain the water down out of the line. So right here is my wash tub. I'm going to crack the valve on the cold side because that's the side we're going to supply with. And we want to drain the water out of that line. Normally we want to pick the lowest spigot or faucet in the house, and that way the water drains from that point. So we'll take and crack this valve open, and any water that's in the system is going to bleed down. So we will wait for just a second, let that drain down before we go to cut this. That's going to help us not make such of a mess. At this point in time, you also have a 5-gallon bucket. We're going to put that directly below where we're working at to catch any water. Okay, so we're ready to prepare to cut our pipe. Now, we do need to cut a section of this line out, and the reason is the T that we're going to put in there Okay, it has a center section. We have to get rid of some of that material. So we want to take this and mark it accordingly so that we don't cut too much out. If I cut too much material out, I will not be able to sweat this T or solder it back into place. So on my end of things here, I put 2 markings up on that piece of pipe, and now we're going to start to cut those. So I'm going to take my pipe cutter, we're going to slide this over top, and begin to cut this. So let's go right about here, and we're going to turn on the thumb screw here, light pressure. Once we get that set, we're going to take and start to spin this. You're going to see it to start to score the pipe. As we score that piece of pipe, we're going to make a couple revolutions. You'll feel the revolutions become easier on the pipe cutter. So as they become easier, we're going to spin this nut just a little bit more and continue to spin this. Just so you know, I am not a professional or certified plumber. Over my 35 years of existence on this earth, I've completed quite a few plumbing tasks. Some I knew how to do, some I didn't know how to do. If I didn't know how to do them, I asked somebody that didn't know how to do them. I have those resources available in regards to relatives that work in the construction industry, friends, things like that. So we just broke through the line. I heard a light hissing sound. That signifies that I broke the line. Here comes the water. Got our bucket lined up. We'll let that drain for a second. Already took 1 shower today. We don't need a second one quite yet. Take that pipe cutter off here so it's out of the way. So you can see our line now is split. And just because I'm a little particular about things, I'm going to slide my fitting on one time, my T, just to make sure that we have our accurate measure on here. So we'll slide this in. I see where my mark is that I made. It does look correct. There's going to be enough material there to solder in. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the other side of my line so I can get the T into place. Now this is going to be a difficult task. The reason this can be a difficult task, I'm going to need some flex in this line to move it back and forth to get that T together. So it is going to be a little bit difficult, but we will we'll get it in there. So hang tight just 1 second. I'm going to cut the other side of this pipe, and we will get that T into position. Now that we got our T to fit up in our main, we need to cut this stub or nipple so that it goes into the valve. So we don't need, if we got to put all this together, we don't need that much pipe sticking up. Okay, that's way too long. So we're going to take and cut a section of this and put that together. So we'll take our pipe cutter, slide this over, and we'll do a little bit of material here, and we'll cut a section of this. So may not be able to hold this, so what I'll probably have to do is take my channel locks. We're going to hold one side of this piece of pipe, and this will be my good side over here. So we'll twist that and spin. Okay, so there's our piece of pipe. Now, one thing we do want to do, there's a reamer on the back side of this. We're going to put that inside our pipe, and there's a small groove on the inside of that edge, and we want to basically get that out of there. So take this here, we're just going to give it a spin. I also did this to the inside of our main water line, so that part's done. I always like to take a brush afterwards and go inside of there, give it a quick spin if there's any other debris or anything inside of there. This pipe was laying from another job I had, so we want to make sure that's nice and clean inside. We'll also clean up our fitting. Ream this guy here. This reamer here is actually not that great. I have a better one. It's not here at the moment. It's at my brother's house. So we will get that back off him, hopefully. So we'll clean the inside of our stub. And while we're at it, we're going to start to clean inside here to prep to solder everything. So we'll take our wire brush, our pipe cleaning brush, and we want to get that inside nice and shiny. Right now it does look relatively shiny, but we want to get that as clean as possible inside and scuff that up. We want that solder to bite inside of there once we get to that portion of the project here. I like to clean all the insides and the outsides, so we'll get this. We'll also do our valve. We'll close this so that any of that garbage doesn't get inside of there. We'll take this here and just rough it up just a little bit. Okay. We'll also grab our emery cloth. And that stub that we have, we're going to take and clean this also. Let's see how shiny this gets just within a couple revolutions. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, nice and clean. So this will go inside of here. Our valve will sit on top. And we're going to get ready to prepare to solder this. So really the next step what we need to do is take and put flux inside of all these joints. What that does, it helps clean our joint. So the flux comes in a can like this. Let's see what it looks like here. It's like a greenish color. Whoop. We'll take that stuff, smear it on there. You'll see it start to bubble once we begin the soldering process or the sweating process. We'll just leave that open for now. So what we'll do is we'll flux everything. We'll assemble everything. Then we will take it to the main water line. We'll set that up and we will solder it on the main line. I prefer to do it like that. Sometimes it becomes cumbersome with multiple things here and we try and solder all that at different times. So sometimes you can solder it and bring it to it, but this is so short, the heat's going to transfer through. So give me just a minute here. We'll get this set up inside of our pipe and we'll begin to solder. So how do we apply the flux? We're going to take our brush. We're just going to rub it inside of this flux right here, and we'll take and swab the inside of those. So I did these ends here. We will swab the inside. I can also take, we'll do the outside of this. You can never have too much flux. I mean, we don't want to have gobs of it on there, but we want to make sure we have enough that that pipe cleans and that that solder stays where it needs to stay at. So we'll put this inside of here. We'll now flux the end part here. And we'll set our valve on top. We want to have this valve in the open position when we go to solder it. There could be a little bit of water left remaining in that pipe. If that water is in there, the solder will not set. So I downloaded the footage, and of course we had a problem. The thing didn't record when I was soldering. So I will go through and just give you the quick rundown how this operates. So here's our MAP gas torch. And what we would do is pull the trigger on this, and that would start the fire. What we want to do is take and put against our fitting. So our T is right here. We're going to want to heat on the inside of the T, and then we're going to take our solder, bend a small end on there, and we would want to take that and melt it across there. The solder is going to pull to where the heat is. So I'm going to heat on the inside of the fitting, and the solder is going to pull. So I did this joint, the opposite side, down our extension or our nipple that goes into the T, and then the portion of that goes into the valve. So we sweated all those. Once that was complete, we then took our adapter, we screwed that on, we threaded that onto our valve, and then we connected our water line. So that work has already been done. As I said, I apologize. The camera failed me here and left me without a video. So just kind of paraphrasing what I did there. Next step, we're going to go and hook this to the back of the refrigerator, open up our water valves, check everything, and make sure there's no leaks. So here you can see where the water line comes up through the floor behind the refrigerator. We're now going to take that line and hook that to the back of our fridge. So in the back of the refrigerator, you will see where our line hooks in. So right now they have a small cap on here, just a piece of plastic or rubber. We will take and pull that off. Try and get your fingernail underneath. Okay. Next, we're going to hook our line up. So we had put a piece of masking tape over the end of our line. We flushed our line after we had it soldered in, just to keep the dust and the other garbage out of there while we put it through the hole. So next, we're going to take and hook this up. You can see there's a keeper right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to go, let me show you this here. There's a keeper right here. Okay, that keeps our water line in the correct direction. Kind of takes the stress off of it. I didn't realize that was on there. So we'll take that keeper off, put our water line through here, and we'll connect to. Okay, we're ready to hook our water line up. So we'll take that, and that sits on top of the brass nut here. So we'll connect this. Remember, no Teflon tape. These are all compression fittings. No need for Teflon tape. Okay? We'll take our wrench and tighten this up. Now, as you can see, this entire mechanism is flexing as I tighten it up. I'm going to take a pair of pliers and hold this bracket so that we don't have any issues here. We don't want to break this off the back of the refrigerator, but we do want that line snug. Okay, that's pretty good right there. So the next step, we're going to turn our water on. Make sure the water's flowing. We'll make sure the ice maker is engaging. There's a bar in there that needs to be down. We'll push that down and see if the ice maker works. Okay, back where we started, we're going to turn our main water supply on. Okay, now we're going to turn on the water to our ice maker. So we're going to turn our valve so it's pointing straight up and down, nice and slow. There's going to be some air in that line, so we don't want it to... Okay, we just took up the air. So our water supply is going upstairs. We'll now go and push the bar down inside of the ice maker and see if the water starts to fill into there. So inside the ice maker, there's a bar. You really can't see it. Let me see if I can dip down just a little bit more. This bar right here, we're going to push down. We should hear water. Okay, I can hear it. And it's flowing into the ice cube tray. Once that freezes, so that water will go into the tray, it will fill up. There's a valve in there that shuts the water off. Once our ice freezes, there is a thawing cycle. It turns on, thaws. There's a motor that pushes the ice cubes out and will sit in the tray here. So we'll check here in just a little bit and make sure we have some ice. I would say the first few runs here, we want to let this thing run its course. So we've let this go here for a little bit. We're going to let this probably run through the night, dump that ice, taste the ice in the morning, see where we're at there, and make sure we're good to go. Other than that, no leaks downstairs. All our plumbing work went well. No issues there, so Fix It Friday was a success. Have a good day, folks.